how's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have Sephorsir with us.
My name's Quay. I do vocals and I write lyrics.
I am Matt. I play the drums.
I'm Bryce. I play guitar.
Awesome, guys. So the first question is, the most important question is, how did you start out, Sephorsir? How did you guys get all your members?
Oh, geez. Um, Sephorsir started technically in 2014. Initially, it was just three of us, a different drummer at that time. And I don't know, we kind of just we crafted Survive Discover first. That was definitely like the first big singular thing that we did. And then moving forward from there, we did go through a couple different lineup changes. And kind of just over time, Bryce and I being the only two original members, we kind of moved forward to where we're at now, where we're kind of crafting a new sound now, which is kind of what you hear being introduced with 72 hours. And I guess in a nutshell, that's really the easiest way to explain it without giving like a 2-hour long broad definition.
You could give whatever definition you want, man. You could take up a couple hours. I'm cool with that. I feel like for me, it's like I'm like kind of a band nerd in the way that I love asking that sort of question, because I love knowing about like the history of like how the band kind of like started and formulated and stuff, because I think it's important for other people to like understand that it's like this doesn't happen like in a couple months. This has happened over a span of years and stuff. So I think it's important for like, you know, a respect aspect of it, you know, at least I think so. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely a lengthy process. Our pre-formation, if that's what you would want to call it, like the period before we actually play the show, I want to say it was definitely like a year, maybe a year and a couple months before we actually played our first show after forming.
It's like 2
And a
years.
lot of that,
Wow.
yeah, a lot of that was just like we were all pretty particular about like I guess the status that we wanted ourselves to be at before we started pushing ourselves as far as like publicly playing and just like you know, really interacting with like a local scene or just a music scene really at all. We wanted to make sure that we had all of our ducks in a row. We had everything set up on our end. And in terms of that, yeah, it was a very lengthy process. It was not an overnight thing.
That's awesome. And then obviously, how did you get in contact with Matt? Because I feel like he is, to me at least, because I've been following your stuff for a little bit now, is that he seems to be the newest member. So Matt, if you want to talk about how did you get in join Sephorsir?
December of 2018. I can't remember who it was. It had to be a friend of a friend. I don't even know if I really know them in person or not, but Bryce and Quay, they had a tour set up already for Sephorsir, and they were trying to juggle up like how they were going to figure out what's going on with their lineup in different capacities. You know, usually they were doing a 5-piece thing from what I remember, but they were trying to backtrack certain instruments, get new people to fill in, and when I first saw that, you know, I never really wanted to take an opportunity that big, because you're always, you know, one of the qualities as a musician is you're so concerned about how you're coming across, you know, am what I'm seeing about myself translating to everybody else, you know what I mean? And so that really kept me from trying to do things that I didn't have control over. You know, I write in another band too, and I have really hands-on control of a lot of those things, but right around that time I was just like, you know, I just want to learn new things, you know what I mean? And this seems like a great opportunity because they're giving me the best means that I could possibly have to like learn a song from the ground up, you know what I mean? I can transcribe things by ear, but they take a really long time, and they're willing to send over clicks and guitar tracks, and I was like, this kind of fell in my lap exactly what I wanted it to, you know what I mean? And so I learned those songs, and over the course of about 2 or 3 months, and I was sending videos to them because they're about 3 hours from us in Jersey, you know, they're in New York, so what I do and what I was doing at the time is I do live sound for weddings and corporate events, things like that. So basically I book my schedule on a day-to-day basis about a month out. So I got to a point where I messaged Bryce and I was like, hey man, I know we've been sending stuff back and forth, but if this is for real, I kind of got to lock it in right now. So is this going down or is this not going down? And he was like, bro, if you can do it, then we're here to have you. And I was like, all right, sick. And then it got to a point where we talked about rehearsing, but who we thought we were going to be on tour with and the way we thought it was going to happen and the distance and the van and everything, it all fell apart. We went from 2 rehearsals to 1 to none to them showing up at my house 2 hours before our first show, and then us driving to the first show. And
the night before that, the van had also.
yeah, exactly. The night before that, the van almost took Bryce out of life completely. But so yeah, I hopped. These dudes show up in my house in a U-Haul van with 2 seats for 4 people, and they come up in my room real quick, and I go, "All right, do all these click tracks make sense? This is how I'm going to count these in." They go, "Yeah," and we went up, and nothing went wrong at all. And I was so fucking stoked because I wanted to prove that theory, at least in my head, for a long time. Because I also come from like a band nerd kind of thing, where like, you know, you show up to concert band rehearsals for 2 hours, and your band leader, whoever's there with you, they don't want you to be working out your parts there. You know what I mean? They want you to be making the sound. They want you to be the band. You know, when I get there. So in my head, I wanted to test this theory so bad, and I was just so stoked that I showed up cold. All of us showed up cold. Nobody practiced with anybody. It wasn't like I was just excluded from the rehearsals. Like, nobody practiced with anybody for this tour before we showed up to the first day, and we had 0 problems the entire time. And I was just so unbelievably stoked that went through at all. And then in the middle of the week, you know, they kind of told me that they figured that this was sort of their trial run to see if they were going to be moving into the new realm of new members who's taking it up to a certain degree and seriously or not. And the only thing, you know, I stay in that wedding industry because it allows me to build my schedule around whatever else I want. You know what I mean? I've put in the man hours for every band that I possibly could, as much as I could. And I literally had no idea. I thought that their thing was so rock solid that they were just going to maybe ask me to, you know, help them promote or maybe take my band on tour or whatever. And then Bryce asked me if I would ever consider doing this, and I was like, yeah, this is literally what I've been working for so hard. You know, like the appreciation that they had for all the things that I really try to dial in. It was just, you know, it felt right. Every aspect of this felt right in my lap with them, and it's been so easy, man.
Well, that's really impressive to me because like I said, I hear a bunch of different stories from like a whole host of different bands, and I've never heard a band that's been like, yo, we've never practiced before. Like, that whole story is just wild to me that you guys did not practice. You just like did your own practice in your own sort of like.
Yeah, man. Our first rehearsal was last month.
Oh my god, that's
like our first actual, you know, because we're starting to use new stage equipment, and that requires it's best to have that set up beforehand, you know, just to dial in frequencies, wireless stuff, you know what I mean? So it was as proud as I was of our ability as musicians to lock in on the stage like that, you do need to, you know, do the damn thing eventually, you know, dial in the logistics of your sound. But yeah, the first rehearsal we've ever had after 3 tours, one-offs for a full year was like a month ago.
That is insane. So insane.
Yeah,
but I also feel like it's really impressive just because it's like, you know, we live in this age with like cool internet. Obviously, this is all facilitated by the internet too. But like, it just seems to me like such a cool thing that we all live in now, where like you don't even have to be in the same state with somebody to be like, yo, like we're writing music, like let's do it. Like, it doesn't matter. And then obviously, I think it's just insane that your guys' first practice was like last, you know, like about a month or 2 ago.
That's a little weird to me too, man. Yeah, man, it felt good. You know, like people say, it starts and ends with your music. So to me, if that was the least of our problems that we needed to get in a room and jam together, then like, that's amazing. You know, the effort can go elsewhere. You know, it felt like it all fell together so easily.
There you go. Well, the next question, guys, another important one. Who are you guys influenced by individually? I guess we can go down the line through Matt.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, me first?
Yeah, sure, whoever.
Yeah, I would say for me, for a long time now, like a top 5 kind of band thing, it for me has been like August Burns Red and DGD, Dance Gavin Dance. I started getting into them in high school, and I mean, those are just 2 bands to me that have literally never disappointed. You know, their newest record isn't always their best, but they're always different. They're such talented musicians to look up to. So those 2 for a long time for me have been really staples. And then more recently, I've fallen in with Every Time I Die, which is weird because they've been around even longer. But I don't know, I wasn't into that scene for whatever reason at the beginning. But man, Every Time I Die has been one of the biggest influences ever for me. Just like emotionally and lyrically, Keith Buckley is amazing. And one more on the instrument side would probably be like Between the Buried and Me. Those dudes are the tightest live musicians I have ever seen in my life. Every time I see them, they're so tight.
Bryce?
So when the band first started, my influences have changed drastically over the span of Forcer being together. But when I first started, I was a huge prog nerd. Like I don't think I didn't listen to any like hardcore deathcore. They were just straight like Periphery, Reflection specifically exist. Structures Divided by that actually is one of my all-time favorite records. I think that when Forcer first started, that's kind of what I wanted to be like in a sense. Like have these super just dumb riffs, but have like the punk drums behind it, have a couple two steps here and there, the crazy like hardcore progressive blend that they have. But, I would say as of right now, especially for the new stuff, like Silent Planet's a huge one. They have a special place in my heart. They're all, especially as people too, they're just amazing people in that group. But I listen to a lot of like Turnstile, though I don't reflect too much of that in our music, but Turnstile definitely gets me up, gets me pumped to write music. And a lot of Loathe. Loathe is, I don't know, they came out of nowhere, man. That band, I think last year we were on tour with our old bassist. He showed me their first single off of their last EP, which was like Servant something. He showed me that song, it just blew me out of the water, and I listened to their first full length album, and I've been sold on them ever since. That's been pretty much basically it for me right now.
Quay?
So pre-Forcer, I guess like the best way to approach this question would be to answer like the vocal and the lyrical element of inspiration. So vocally, before I got into Forcer, a lot of people are kind of surprised by this, but I guess like my biggest influence, honestly, would have to be the Bunny the Bear, in terms of like the way that I yell and the moves that I do. I'm not. It's part of my life. I'm not all that proud of, but
But he talks about it so often.
Fair enough. Okay.
Moving forward from that, once I got into Forcer, I started to discover like more, I guess, other bands in the realm of like Barrier, Reflections, Veil of Maya, a lot of like I want to use the word prog, but I wouldn't consider everything that really any of those bands do technically all prog if you want to get genre elitist about it. But like overall, going forward, it was definitely a lot of Barrier, a lot of Reflections, a lot of Architects, obviously a lot of Silent Planet in terms of like projection and whatnot. And then lyrically, honestly, I try not to take influence from really any form of lyricism or any form of writing. I feel I try and keep things as genuine and personal as I can in terms of like writing lyrics.
Sure, yeah.
So honestly, I don't really know if I could say that I have like a lyrical inspiration. That's not to say there's not lyricists that I don't enjoy, like Garrett Russell, Sam Carter, Brennan Murphy. All of them are like fantastic lyricists, and I love what they write. But I wouldn't necessarily consider them influential, because I try and just keep everything as personable as I possibly can, and just as organic to myself in terms of lyrics. Vocally, I feel it's more difficult to maintain like an organic and just how do you say personal type of vocal style, but you can take inspiration from other vocal styles and kind of like mold them into your own way. And I guess that's kind of what I try and do with all of those influences that I mentioned.
No, I feel like I had listened to 72 hours a few times. Shouts to Cody. He's the one who set this up, so I want to give him some love. But
Yeah, Cody.
I knew about your band for a while now, just because I'm familiar with your guys' music. Like, I've been kind of following it for a little bit, and I know a few other bands that I've been in contact with. They've like mentioned Forcer, and I was like, man, I should get them on. Like, I should have them on to like come and chat and stuff. And it just hasn't, it hadn't always lined up. So I was like, I was like, when Cody asked me to do this, I was like, let's go. But when I had listened to 72 Hours, I was like, this kind of feels like, obviously you guys have mentioned Silent Planet being kind of the comparison, and I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. But I do feel like there is a difference that isn't, like, it is Silent Planet-esque, but it's not 100% that. And I think that's what impresses me more, is that it's, like, not completely that. And that, obviously it is a strong influence, but it's not so strong that it's just like, oh my God, they're being like a carbon copy of like Silent Planet. Like, I feel like not every band strives to do that, but like, some bands kind of lean a little bit heavier on their influences. And so in this case, I was just like, some of like the rhythmic like chopping and stuff that you guys had going on, I was just like, this is impressive to see this as like from bands that I've had on before. Like, this is like something that I'm like, I could go and listen to, like, even if I didn't know you guys and didn't have you on the interview, I was like, this is a band that I would genuinely be like, yo, I'm gonna go show my friends this because it's tight. Like, this is awesome. So go check out 72 Hours, guys. It's fantastic. But the next question, guys, would be a more current one. Who have you guys been jamming recently? What's on the Spotify? What have you been listening to lately?
Wait for it to go.
Me, personally, it's definitely been a lot of Loathe. As of late, I let it in, and It Took Everything is such a phenomenal album. It's just, in my honest opinion, it is just perfection, front to back.
I could agree, yeah.
Nothing Left to Love by Counterparts. That's another banger from this year. The new Reflections I've been jamming periodically, definitely not as much as Loathe or Counterparts, but and then apart from that, really, I don't think I expand my music library enough, honestly, because I do this thing where like I listen to like the same 4 bands' entire discographies for like a whole year, and then I just never listen to them again.
Fair enough.
So like, right now, surprisingly, I'm still stuck on Holy Hell by Architects. That's another really good album to me, in my honest opinion. And honestly, that's about it. I'm kind of boring with my music taste as of late. Probably expand on that.
Bryce?
So, weird one. I've been listening to a lot of Frank Sinatra. I love it. You can tell, dude, Quay can back that up. Every time that he has to ride with me in the car, especially late night drives, I'll blast some Frank Sinatra while he's trying to sleep. He didn't really enjoy it too much. But yeah, a lot of that. I've been listening to a lot of OG stuff, like the Common Man Collapse from Veil Maya. Repeat for the last like 2-3 weeks. I have found like a new appreciation of it, listening to like modern core music, then going back to the album, it's like, damn, like they really were way ahead of their time. Like as far as like early 2000s, gent metalcore, hardcore goes, like they had a lot of modern core stuff now, which is pretty crazy. And a lot of my buddies in Stargazer, though they're not really too much of a band anymore. The Tula album is probably one of my all-time favorite releases. It's such a almost perfect record, the way that specifically my favorite thing is Matt's vocals on it. But the way Matt does his clean singing is incredible, honestly. It's almost opera-esque, it makes you, it's a lot of emotions, a lot of power behind them. I absolutely love it, but mainly just been those couple artists been jamming on the frequently.
Matt?
Yeah, for me, in the last week, it's been the DGD record straight through. That happens to me every single time they put out a record. It's weird because the first time they listen through, I almost am always disappointed. I'm always like, oh man, like this didn't hit me like all the other stuff kind of hit me. But there's weird stuff that makes me want to listen to it again, and that's when music starts to really get into my memory. Is when like something catches my attention enough to make me listen to it again, and I know it's going to be good because this is what happens to me every single time. So then on the second listen through, it basically pulls me in for the whole week. It's just like the album straight through every day, twice. I gotta get every fucking word down and look up every John Mess lyric, just so I know what's going on. So the DGD record Afterburner is ridiculous. About a year ago, I started listening to Spirit Box, and every song by Spirit Box can go in rotation, and that also opened me up to the last record that same vocalist, Courtney LaPlante, did with I Wrestled the Bear Once, and within the last year, that one got huge spins from me too, because I'll find things that are about like just like 5 years old, or like even you revisit the Common Man's Collapse or whatever, and it's just like it's gotta stay there. Yeah, Spirit Box has been amazing. I do like the new ABR. This is I don't think this is their best record, even as their newest one. I think the production is the best that they've ever done. I think the drums and everything, and it sounds amazing. But I think that one's a pretty good one. And then on the other realm of things, I kind of been listening to a lot of Citizen. It took me forever to listen to As You Please. That came out in 2017, and I was the biggest fan of their first 2 records. I saw them open for Circus Survive at Red Rocks one time in Colorado, and it was just it was so amazing. So that record took me the longest time to listen to, and I'm pretty upset about it because it's gold. And in an alternative kind of like indie thing, I really like Isley right now too. I think the record was I Was Only Dreaming, or I'm Only Dreaming. I forget exactly what the title is, but that one straight through, I love her vocal style. They go through a lot of different beats and stuff. Those kind of keep it fresh for me. I like that's more easy listening. More times than not, when I'm listening to a metal song, I'll just listen to it at first. But at a certain point, I need to know what this drummer is doing. Like my brain can't go anywhere else. I'm trying to figure out the sticking or the notes. Like I'm literally doing the math and the sheet music in my head when I'm listening to a song most times. So when something easy listening like that comes on, it's pretty refreshing to just sit back and let that play. So Isley and Citizen on the other realm have been big for me.
Yeah, I feel like with the DGD stuff, I'm kind of in a similar boat where like I'll listen to it first round and I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm like maybe it just requires another listen, and I wind up just listening to it because I usually review it, and I'm like, this was actually really good. I understand why people may or may not like it for other reasons, excluding that. But I've always felt like they've been just a band in general that's been really consistent. And
it's such a weird line of like consistency and weirdness, because you end up being so used to exactly the tinge of what was the last record, which is still them. They hit similar tones and stuff, but this one especially, I'm so glad Will Swan did like way more weird sounds. Like in a few of the last tracks, his guitar just sounds like a fucking laser gun, and it's so sick, dude. I love when they bring out the weird sounds like that.
Yeah, 100%. That's why it reminded me a lot of like the self-titled and like Happiness, where he just went like buck wild and did whatever he wanted. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad you mentioned Spirit Box, because I feel like they don't get enough love, and they're
for real, man. I wish they were way bigger. They're so tight.
So Spirit Box, if you're watching this, you want to do something. But the next question, guys, another fun one. If you guys could pick a song to cover, what would it be?
I can go first. They're probably going to take a while. Like I was just telling you, I literally cannot listen to a song more than 3 times without picturing the sheet music at a certain point. It's like I can't not. So I rotate songs that I'm trying to learn parts of all the time. I just tracked something to the end of Bloodwork by Texas in July.
Oof.
Because Adam Gray, oh my, his creativity and originality, oh my god, it's unbelievable. And what he would do, Nugget's losing his mind back. So there's videos of him doing this on the last Texas in July tour. The last song of Bloodwork is called Bloodwork, and it's just got this I wouldn't say simple, it's polymetric, however you want to consider it in your own head. It's a rotating pattern of certain chugs, but they play it over and over again, and they rotate it back and forth between giving him drum soloing over the whole thing and hitting those accents, and then dropping it back in with the vocals again. And for the longest time, I was like, I need to cover this. Like, I want to make my own thing to this as if he's doing it, because it's just so cool the way he was accessing that part and like writing something in that. So the most recent thing that I actually have ready to put out, I'm just going to kind of layer the audio and make sure the edits are good, is I did a little thing to the end of Bloodwork. I've been working through this Animals as Leaders book by Matt Garska. I don't know if I can ever put up a video of that in the next year, because I can get through the song now, but it's just, man, there's a level of consistency that I don't even want to put out there, because he sees those videos out there and he knows that people, I've seen videos of him answering questions, and he goes, I see people putting out covers and they're getting through the song, but they don't have the facility to get through this song. You know what I mean? Like they can kind of get it, and he puts out videos in where he does them in one take and 0 edits. Like, that's his claim with all of every video that Matt Garska has put out. He says that there's about 5% or something on the Madness of Many. I mean, when you're in a production level like that, I mean, who cares? You're getting that final product, and as opposed to the drum videos being an instructional thing for him, it's a mildly different scenario, but that's just so impressive to me. So I guess if I strive to cover an Animals as Leader song as best as I can, but you can expect to at least see maybe some Texas in July, some Sentinel stuff. I really like to learn a lot of different songs and put stuff out there.
There we go. Quay or Bryce?
Shove It by Deftones. Probably My Own Summer.
Okay.
We've had the discussion before of covering a song, and I think we landed on Korea by Deftones, but I was always consistently pushing for My Own Summer. Yeah, I don't know. That's what my answer would be. I'd definitely say Deftones cover. Honestly, it wouldn't even. I'd be all right with Diamond Eyes too. Honestly,
yeah, man.
Really, any song.
That's a really good one.
But Diamond Eyes.
Bryce?
Honestly, also for a personal cover, I would love to do a Turnstile song. They just are really jammy songs. Their latest record is actually one of my favorites, because I like some of their more rock. They have some weird psychedelic feels in there. But I Don't Want to Be Blind or Moon is my favorite song off that record. That's just such a fun jammy song. But I don't know, probably their Turnstile, or one of my song that I've already have covered before, but I would love to do a full band cover of it, is Ascension for Born Osiris. That is one of my favorite songs to play. It's honestly not that hard. Jason Richardson has a lot of crazy riffs in there, but they're very economical playing wise, so that's they're really not that hard to play, so it's really just a groovy, fun song to play from them. But that would probably be the covers I'd want to do.
There you go. Well, if you have any other ones for Seforcer, drop them in the comments. I'm sure they'll go give them a listen and a check out. But the next question, guys, a fun one. If you guys could pick favorite food, what is your go-to meal?
Sushi. Nigiri specifically.
My guy. Bryce?
Rice and beans.
Probably sushi. Yeah, I love sushi. I like all seafood.
Are you gonna follow that up, Matt? Are you gonna do a 3? Are you also on the?
Nah, see, I might have said that, but the thing is that I work weddings, and when they let me eat at the cocktail hour, I eat unlimited sushi about 3 times a week at the cocktail bar at weddings. So sushi is satisfied for me. For me, I go rice and beans. I like Mexican food. Any place, just give me rice and beans, spicy sauce, tortilla, any combination of all of those things, any Mexican food.
There we go, guys. Next question. If you guys could pick somebody to collaborate with, whether it be a guest vocalist on your next record or a producer you'd like to work with in the future, who would it be?
Not to give anything away, but kind of already worked on this new release with one of my favorite vocalists. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I don't know either.
Honestly, probably not even anybody big. I was just talking about Stargazer, and Matt's part of Rat God as well. Matt is just such a phenomenal vocalist. I would absolutely love to have him on a Seforcer track. I don't know, man. He's next level, man. He's next tier.
Can't agree.
I would like to have Brendan Murphy on a song, if that could ever happen. I think that would be fucking sick. Just like write like a baller ass breakdown around it. That would be pretty wicked. Either him or Sam Carter from Architects. I think that would be a very interesting collaboration.
Nice.
Yeah, honestly, it would likely be one of those two in terms of realism. In terms of like dreams, Chino, I would love to have Chino just to hear what that would sound like. Yeah, that'd be it for me.
That's sweet.
Matt?
Yeah, for me, I really would love to hear Courtney LaPlante sing on something as a clean vocalist. I would love to hear Keith Buckley come in and do a hype part like he did on one of those Stray from the Path songs.
Oof,
For me, that's when Stray kind of, I don't know, they're not a bad band by any means, but that record, I don't know, it didn't hit me except for that song. When I finally heard that, I was like, that's it. Keith Buckley's here. This song is popping off right now. That dude is there for the hype parts. He's cool as fuck. And producer-wise, even in that realm, like we've been working with Matt Guglielmo at Graphic Nature. He's played drums in the Acacia Strain on a touring basis and for Spite, and he's a mainstay engineer over there. And we've had nothing but amazing experiences with him. And that's where Will Putney is based out of, too. And they kind of, I mean, they do Counterparts, they do everything. They all have their own little piece of how they work through those records. So we would just love to keep working with him, maybe get in with Will Putney eventually if our budget and our sound allows. You know, I mean, maybe Matt's the right guy for us, but Graphic Nature in general, that's our spot right now. We love everybody at that place.
There we
Absolutely.
go. Some good picks. Especially, I gotta give the love to Matt. Actually, Stargazer was the band that recommended me to you guys, so I have to give a shout out to Stargazer
Sick.
and Matt in general. Matt, I know you'll watch this, so come on, man. What are you doing? What are you doing right now? You gotta do it. Come on. Make sure, but also go make sure to tweet at Brendan Murphy and Sam Carter and all of the other suggestions. Just let them
Yeah,
know.
man.
You know, you want him on a Forcer track, just let it let's let it happen. So the next question, guys, another fun one. Obviously you guys play a multitude of instruments, but if there was another one you could master, what would it be?
For me, the piano.
Drums.
Probably violin. Violin's like, you can put it in almost every style of music. Like there's some tracks in Survive Discover where it's really subtle with the backtracking, but there's some violin plugins there. But I would love to learn to play it like live because I don't think there's anything prettier than like a really good live violinist.
You ain't wrong, dude. Dude, I work with a for hire violinist, like contracted for wedding bands and stuff, and he came in with his electric fiddle one time. His name's Earl, and he was the baddest motherfucker. And then I saw a Dillinger Escape Plan sticker on his thing, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I play strings for the whole like last 2 records in the studio in Rockaway." I'm like, so this dude is this dude's showing up and rocking these fiddle solos over AC/DC and shit, whatever anybody asks him to play. And every single time I'm there, I'm talking about fucking mathcore and Dillinger Escape. Bro, yeah, dude, violin really can fit in anywhere. It's amazing how people hire that instrument, like both on the wedding spectrum, and then that professional player is like, he's like, yeah, I'm hitting in the Dillinger Escape Plan record. Like, it's so cool.
That's awesome. Well, shout outs to Earl. That sounds super sick.
Anytime.
But the next question is my personal favorite because I'm a massive nerd and I love asking it. If you guys could be a video game character, who would you be?
That's actually tougher than I thought. I had a cheeky pick, but I'm not sure right off the bat.
Everybody thinks they know.
Yeah. My gut reaction was to say Mercy from Overwatch. The amount of hours I have as Mercy is fucking abysmal. But as like a storyline character, Dead Space is like my favorite. Dead Space is like my favorite series. I love Isaac Clarke, even though he doesn't say literally a single word in the first game. But then I'm hesitant to pick him because I've seen him get dismembered far too many times to think that I could really survive as that motherfucker.
Fair.
Yeah, I'll probably say Mercy from Overwatch, man. I love that game. I love that character.
Probably Gordon Freeman for me, baby. Half-Life 2.
Bird.
He's
I got it
he's
down
a
to
regular
two.
dude.
I've got it narrowed down to two, but I can't pick between them. It would either be Spyro or Crash, honestly. I just love those games. I don't care about like the logistics between becoming a dragon or whatever the fuck you Crash
I
as.
think he's a wombat.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a wombat. Yeah.
I just fucking love those games. So,
There we go. Those are some fucking awesome picks. And if you know what Crash Bandicoot is, leave it in the comments because I have no idea what he. I think he's a wombat. I guess I don't know.
I thought that was a big joke.
It could be a big joke. I don't know. Somebody has to be more nerdier than me and would know the answer to that. So shout out to whoever answered that. So next question, guys. What would be one band that people wouldn't associate you listening to? Not necessarily like a guilty pleasure, but like a band that would be like, wouldn't have expected you to listen to that band.
Right. Frank Sinatra.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but that
Yeah, I
was,
don't know. I feel like I gave it away already. My kind of outlandish kind of thing is like really laid back, alternative or indie like Isley or Citizen or Turnover. You know, things in that kind of realm, I guess.
what about you, Quay?
Suicide Boys.
Interesting. Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah, Bryce got me into them. Like it over the course of like going. I used to hate them. That's the most ironic part. Like I used to couldn't, stand, but like after riding in so many vehicles with Bryce and him playing them so frequently, it's just like I can actually do that now. Like now I've been forced to enjoy it, so now I actually.
You've been forced to love it. That's the.
I'm just giving you good taste, bud. I'm sorry.
No class play.
That's I don't know. That's a debatable thing, Bryce, but
Maybe.
very debatable. But I'll let somebody else decide that. But next question, guys. Another fun one. If you guys were to compile a dream tour lineup, who would be on it?
Thug.
Obviously, your band's on it. I feel like I have to.
Oh, okay, word.
Yeah.
I thought I was just there, like you follow a tour around. I thought I was just following.
No, you gotta be on it, dude. We're shooting for the stars here, baby. Let's get it.
I heard that. Damn. Damn. Dream tour.
It would be such a weird lineup.
Shoot, Quay. I want to hear
But-
this.
Maybe it wouldn't be that weird. It would work. It would absolutely work, especially the first two. I've been throwing endless love to Deftones and Loathe today, so like let's just keep that trend going. Deftones, Loathe, Architects or Loathe, like they could be interchangeable. I'm not gonna go by like the order because that's just gonna be way too complicated. So Deftones, Loathe, Architects, Counterparts, Spirit Box, and then us.
Okay.
It's a big tour.
That's a good one. I like that. I can vibe. Bryce or Matt?
Dream tour. You gotta figure it out, bud.
Yeah. So
Yeah, go for it.
I'd probably do like a full tour lineup. Probably my number one would be Glass Cloud headliner. I do Glass Cloud. I do Structures as the go down. Probably go Reflections next.
Okay.
Just go straight, just like OG days. And like I've actually my preferred for like Reflections coming back. Though I love the new album. Do an Exist reunion run, something like that, or an anniversary run, and then I don't know. I'd like a new face on there, like Loathe. So you have like all like the throwback bands from like 2000s, and then you have Loathe and us as a opening package for all of it.
Sweet.
I love that. That's great. Matt?
All right, for me, top one, The Wiggles.
All right.
No. I would try and pick a combination. I'm glad Bryce said Glass Cloud because I was trying to also think of like what's not around anymore that I could maybe try and catch. But I want to try and find a mix of things that like are like really fun to watch musician wise, and also like just they hit you in like I like to move in the pit, bro. If I'm there, I take damage when I'm really in a show that I'm into. So like I would say I probably love to watch August Burns Red. I love every single thing they put out. I could watch Mac Reiner play all fucking day. That dude leads all his double pace patterns with his left foot. He's a freak. I want to see how he does it. I'd probably watch Veil Maya. Because those breakdowns are insane, and the way that they run their sound and everything, like they have their own texture. It's amazing. Yeah, Veil. I could watch Animals as Leaders play for forever, also. And if I had to, I guess if I was gonna pick one, yeah, I want to pick one that's not really around anymore. I would kind of want to see the Human Abstract really bad. I would love to watch them play. Their first record, Nocturne, is like really all over the place, and then I think it's Alagic, right? The second one or whatever.
I think so, yeah.
I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but that one feels like a classical rendition of just like literally composed pieces, and it's phenomenal, man. I would love to see them one day.
I'm glad you mentioned them because that was a band that I feel died out far before their time.
Man, as soon as I heard of them, they were like announcing that they're out, like that they don't have the means to be on. I was like, oh man, dude, this is way too.
Casey last year.
Casey, yeah.
Oh, Casey.
Yeah, Casey. They again. I feel like with them too being kind of more, I feel like they're more melodic hardcore, but they were. My God, like they were great too. They were another band I felt like kind of died out under the radar, and so hopefully.
Oh, I have to put ETED on my list too because they change their set list almost every night, even if it's just a few songs. And that, oh my God, that's the most amazing thing to me in the world. I love it when I hear songs that are super deep cuts I never heard before. They rotate them all the time. I love that.
You got one that everybody forgot. Got to throw Misery Signals on there too.
True.
I want to see them. I wish they would do because they were. I think they did they were going to do a reunion tour or something like that, or they already did. I don't know. I would just love to see that band live. They're such a cool band.
I think they were in the process of doing something, and then this whole situation happened, and they kind of were like, we got to...
God, that band is so cool, man.
I feel like they'll do it. I feel like, maybe hopefully next year-ish, I feel like they might have something rocking, but it's just kind of up in the air. But next question, guys. We already talked about a Dream Tour lineup, so in your opinion, who puts on a great live performance? Who just rips it on stage?
So, we did a run with a 3-piece band called The Worst of Us. It was actually the first tour that we ever did with Matt. Those guys, I'd only ever really seen like 2 or 3-piece bands up to that point. Mm-hmm. And ironically, the next tour that we did, we actually did it as a 3-piece. But for that tour, I had never seen a band that was so... I guess the word I'm looking for is cohesive. They were just so solid. They put on such a baller smacking show for being 3-piece. It's
yeah, man.
It's surprising. It's energetic. It's very exciting to watch. Their energy, everything that they do on stage, it's like night and day. Seeing them off the stage and then on the stage.
So true.
They're fun-loving dudes. They like to have a good time, and then they get on stage, and it's like that whole attitude just amplifies like tenfold. They're just so fucking fun to watch. So I gotta throw a plug to those guys.
Yeah, to add on that, just on Quay's thing, at a certain point they went 2-piece for a few shows because of their own necessities. I won't say anything because I don't know what came to light and what didn't exactly. I mean, it was in good terms for sure. I just don't want to say anything that I don't know to be true or not. Yeah, so they were for about 2 or 3 days they were a 2-piece, and even in that capacity, man, I mean, just drums and vocalists not holding an instrument, just out there. I mean, they did what they had to do, like props to them for sure.
They just put out a new single too. I want to say it's called Ring Me Out. I could.
It is, yeah, Ring Me Out.
Okay. I was really hoping I didn't say the wrong song name.
No, I saw them post about it today. Yeah, it's Ring Me Out.
I listened to it a couple different times, and I don't know, man. So far, everything that they've put out, it's all super. It's all like every release has been different in its own way, but it's super unique, and I don't know. I love just about everything that they do.
Awesome. Bryce or Matt?
Simon Sailor Band. That band's crazy live.
Yeah, I love their drummer.
I played with them in my old band way back. I think it was when they just put out. I think it was their single was "Go for the Throat," and we played a show for them. It might have been on their release tour, and God, dude, that band that had a lot of energy live, man. Their choreography too, the way that they move around is awesome.
Mm-hmm. I saw them live at iMatter a couple years ago.
Yeah,
sick, man.
Good.
Matt?
Yeah, for me, I would say for me probably the top one is Every Time I Die, because they were a recent addition to my listening in maybe the last 6 or 7 years, and it was because I started to see what their shows were like, not as opposed to the shows that I've been. I mean, you know, in a grand scheme, metal is a metal show, hardcore show is a hardcore show. Like, people are packed in like sardines and they're moving like crazy. But Etid, the way that Etid decides to move around and shit, like, it's bonkers. Like, they're so amazing, and the way, like, they're not a band that would play to a click, so their ebb and flow of the way they choose songs and change their tempos and just ring things out, the way that they manipulate their crowds once they're getting the energy and everything that they need back, like, they're psychos. They're so good. And in that same vein, like, the time I saw Dillinger Escape Plan, I mean, they go even, like, they're just like, I want to do everything that you're doing, but I want to do it 50 feet up in the air on the balcony, so that's what I'm going to do. Like, they're fucking nuts. Both of those bands are tight.
I've seen videos. My one buddy, Dan, went to go see, like, their last show, I think in New York, and he tells me this story, and I think it's one of the best stories I've ever heard that I haven't experienced, but he just remembers that I think it was like the last song, and there was like 100 or like 200 different people on the stage at one time. They're all doing their shit. People are pitting out on the floor. At one point, he climbs up like the rafters in like this New York, you know, stage, and he jumps off, and he like lands this thing. Like, some dude was like sitting in the balcony like eating a sandwich, and he just takes the sandwich off this dude and starts eating it, and then he throws it back at him. It was just
psycho, dude. They
nuts.
Like, I think it was 2001 Leeds Festival or Reading or something in UK. Mm-hmm. They couldn't come back to the country for like 9 years because he shit in a bag and threw it into the crowd. Like, what?
That is insane. Well, hopefully Dillinger will do like a
yeah, I think Greg is out there doing some shit. I don't know. I think he started that super group with Mastodon called Killer Be Killed, but correct. He's doing some guitar in that too. I don't know if he's trying to keep that same energy and that same thing, but I do know Ben Weinman has a Patreon.
Yes.
And you get music out of that, and it's basically an animal sanctuary. He's like a hardcore vegan, and you're just helping to support his like animal sanctuary, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty dope. Well, shout out to Ben Weinman. That's awesome. Next question, guys. A fun one. Favorite TV show, favorite movie?
Futurama.
South Park.
Probably, guys, I'd say South Park. South Park is so stupid, but it's so funny, man. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I've seen every episode of South Park through and through at least twice, dude. I am addicted to that show.
There we
as
go.
Far as a movie,
movies, yeah.
Revenant.
True.
Yeah, Revenant was really good.
I used to do 2 movies at once at the theater. I used to be so crazy about seeing them, and now I barely watch them at all. I just have a few that I kind of like to watch on specific occasion. Like, I really like watching V for Vendetta on November 5th. That's my roommate's birthday also too, so we like to put that movie on. That one's good to rewatch. I also really like to pick out Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and The Truman Show. Those I love those 2 Jim Carrey movies. I like to put those on a lot, man.
There we go. Bryce?
Man, that's hard. Joker hit me in a special way, man. That was a really good movie. Joaquin Phoenix is one of my all-time favorite actors too. That I don't know. There's something about that movie. It's so artistically done in the way that it's like it's a superhero, supervillain movie, but it's not. It's something completely different. It's like it almost describes the way that society functions on an emotional and mental level in the real life. And I think that's what the goal was for that movie. And it's creepy, it's disturbing because it's so realistic,
Yeah.
and I think it's so relatable in that sense where it's like, damn, like you kind of you almost feel bad for somebody like that, or it's really weird. You go through a lot of mind games in that movie, which is a lot. It's cool because like the movie has a lot of controversy behind it because people were thinking that it glorifies killers and stuff like that. People are walking out, but like there's just such a underlining artistic note to it, to where it's like there's beauty and empathy for people like that in a way. Like it's weird. That's probably one of my all-time favorites, even though it's more recent.
It's definitely one of the more emotionally conflicting and just uncomfortable movies that I've watched in the last couple years. Like, uncomfortable is the number one word I would use to describe that movie.
Yeah,
it's so
very disturbing.
All right, guys. Next question. If you were trapped on a desert island for the next month and there was one record you could bring with you, what would it be? I feel like a month's a little easy. If I said all the time, I feel a little guilty saying that,
It's almost like, what can I stand to only listen to for a month?
True. That's
Yeah.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Nah, I don't,
So I swear to God, I have jammed every Counterparts album like every week for like the last 2 years. So really any Counterparts album, probably Tragedy, but Nothing Left to Love wouldn't be a bad one either.
I feel that. Okay.
I think if I was stranded on an island, I think what would get me through is nostalgia and remembering childhood and whatnot. I would probably say "Man on the Moon" from Kid Cudi. Like I could probably put that on repeat. I could listen to that for a month. It's got a lot of good vibes. I actually, for all my high school life, I'm a night owl, so it's like for most of my life I've always had problems like falling asleep at good times. I would put that album on, and like the first 3 tracks are very like soft, and they're very melodic in a sense. So like I would actually use that to fall asleep. So I'd probably take that with me.
Yeah, actually, I kind of want to recant my answer because Bryce reminded me.
Fair.
I'm gonna say "We Are Not Alone" by Breaking Bad. Because the nostalgic factor. Bryce brought up that nostalgic factor, and now it's like, what's an album I've been listening to for a decade already, and I still love it. So might as well just go with that one.
All right. And Matt?
Yeah, man. I feel like I would almost want to bring something new or nostalgic. Like, and I don't know, because it's only a month, so it kind of gives you this like enclosed environment to experience this new record. Like, I don't know. If I was going nostalgia factor, I might pick like The Black Parade by My Chem.
Oh.
My Chem was the first record I ever picked up, and I was obsessed with that record. I pre-ordered it. I was fucking in Hot Topic there when it came out. I was waiting for it.
Why would you want to cry the whole time on an island, though?
Some of them are fun. Some of those songs are fun, Bryce.
Some of them are fun.
If I was gonna pick something I didn't know, I might take like The Color Spectrum by the Deer Hunter.
Ooh.
It's long. It's like a through listen.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever really given it the justice of like, going through the rainbow, like the full. I think it's like 36 or like 40 tracks, the full Color Spectrum put out together. So I don't think I've ever done it the real justice. I think it might be cool to give it its own little time.
I don't feel like I've done it before, but I might make a video.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it during this now.
Where I'm gonna listen through all of it maybe I'll do like a live stream. Maybe
Yeah.
when this video comes out, you guys can hold me to that. But
Yeah, nice.
the last thing, the most important thing, obviously the reason you're all here, tell them about Seforcer, where they can find you at on social media. And I feel like you have something coming up very soon that, you know, you can tell people about, you know, coming out soon-ish.
Yeah, Quay.
Shoot,
Quay, you know all
This
this.
is your part, boy.
Quay, you know all this. I think the only thing that's not at Seforcer is the Instagram is at Seforcer New York. I don't think they let you do apostrophes on Instagram if you search it or tag it. So just search it without the apostrophe. I think it's Seforcer New York. Our email for direct contact to us is seforcerofficialbooking@gmail. Correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No apostrophe in there either, right?
Yep.
For the email? Okay, no apostrophe in either of those. And then on Facebook, we're Seforcer with the apostrophe. I assume that's the URL too, is just facebook.com/Seforcer with the apostrophe, but don't type out with the apostrophe, put the apostrophe in the name of the band. And yeah, I think that's it. I don't know if you guys want to follow me. I'm at Matt_Schindel. I post drum videos all the time as much as I can. I'm probably going to put up some playthroughs of Seforcer stuff and any of those other covers we talked about. And yeah, if you guys know that, I can't remember the Bandcamp or if there's another link we can provide, but if you guys know that, go for it.
Just to kind of add on to that, if anybody's wondering, kind of anybody who's watching this, if anybody's wondering kind of like what we're all about as a band in terms of like what we try and talk about and like the message overall that we want to send is really everything that we do is all about unity and it's all about perspective. All of us as individuals, we're all very empathetic people, and we try our absolute hardest to take a look at any given situation, and we try and see the best that we can out of it. And anybody who's going through a rough time, anybody who's going through their life kind of just constantly looking down and just kind of wondering whatever their purpose is, I think every member of this band is also trying to figure out what our purpose is. So you're not the only person who's going through that. You're not the only individual who has those questions. We have those questions too. And really what we are all about is becoming one with that part of your humanity, becoming one with that part of yourself that has those questions. And we're here to kind of just remind you that you're not the only person going through whatever it is you're going through. Our songwriting criteria and the subject matter that we choose may vary song to song, but overall that sentiment is very true. We just want to talk about the human condition and how we can make life either better or how we can express how a situation has made us feel, and hopefully you can take something from that. And that's what we are all about from a lyrical context, really just subject matter wise. That's what this band is all about, if anybody ever had a question about that or just wanted anything in a nutshell.
There we go. Well, go check out Seforcer. Major shout outs to Cody. I love that dude so much. So thanks for setting that up, Cody. I know you'll probably watch this. But go check out Seforcer. Seriously, like this band I've been following for a little bit now at this point, and 72 Hours is a fantastic kind of start, and like, you know, hopefully better things to come for the next record. I really do feel like they have such a great passion behind what they're writing and like what they're putting out. So I feel like if there's a band to keep an eye out for in this year is definitely Seforcer. I think they got a good new record coming that, you know, hopefully if you want to, you know, send that shit over to me, you can do that. But definitely very excited for what they're doing. All of the links will be below where you can check out Seforcer. I will do you the justice of looking it up and putting it in the comments so you can you can do it you can click on the link and I've done the work for you. So
he's taking care of the apostrophe for you.
That's
care
true
of the
apostrophe for everybody, the fam here. But go check out their stuff, seriously. Go subscribe to their YouTube channel. I'm sure they got stuff. Go follow Matt because I'm sure he's gonna be doing some sick covers and some sick playthroughs, so go do that. If you enjoyed this interview, share it, like it, subscribe. It goes a long way. Make sure to go tweet at Brendan Murphy, Sam Carter, and all the homies. If you want to see them on a next Seforcer record, like, come on. I feel like you do. I do. So you should too. And thank you guys to Seforcer for coming on and chatting today.
Brandon, thanks so much, man. A lot of
Thanks
fun.
for having us, man.